Have you ever noticed how easy it is to dream? How easy it is to say, one day I'll do that, or someday I'll become that person. We all have dreams, big, wild, limitless dreams that make our hearts race when we imagine them. But here's the truth that most people never realize until it's too late. Dreams without deadlines are just wishes. They float in your head like clouds beautiful, but without substance, without direction, without gravity. And one day, if you're not careful, those clouds drift away and disappear forever. That's why dreams require deadlines. Because a deadline is what turns a wish into a plan, and a plan into action. It's the moment you stop saying someday and start saying today. You see, dreams are like seeds. Every one of us carries them inside the seed of potential, of greatness, of something extraordinary. But a seed doesn't grow just because you own it. It grows because you plant it, water it, and give it sunlight. Your deadline is the soil that anchors your dream to reality. It's what forces you to nurture it every single day. Without a deadline, you can spend years watering nothing but empty air. And here's the crazy part, most people don't fail because they don't have dreams. They fail because they never give their dreams a schedule. They say, I'll start next month. They say, when the timing's right. But there is no perfect time. The perfect time is always now. When you decide that your dream deserves a date, something inside you shifts. You move from wishing to working. You move from I want to I will. You start waking up earlier, staying up later, focusing harder. You stop waiting for motivation and start building discipline. Because now you have a finish line to run toward. And that changes everything. I remember once hearing a story about an artist who dreamed of painting a masterpiece. For years he told people about his idea, how magnificent it would be, how it would capture emotions that words could never describe. But he never started. Why? Because he always said, I'm not ready yet. One day a friend asked him, when will you be ready? And the artist said, when I have the perfect brush. The friend smiled and said, the perfect brush won't make your masterpiece. Your decision will. That hit me hard, because it's exactly what so many of us do. We wait for the perfect brush. We wait for more time, more confidence, more resources. But what we really need is a deadline, a date that says, by this day, I'll begin, or by this day, I'll finish. Because deadlines create urgency, and urgency creates focus. Without urgency, the world is full of maybe later. But with urgency, the impossible becomes possible. Think of every great achievement in history, every invention, every success, every breakthrough. None of them happened by accident. They happened because someone decided, I will do this by then. Deadlines are not prisons. They're promises. Promises you make to yourself that your future matters enough to be scheduled. And when you start honoring your deadlines, you start honoring your potential. The universe responds to people who commit. It's almost as if life itself says, now that you're serious, let me help you. That's when opportunities appear, ideas flow, and energy surges. You begin to see progress, and progress feeds motivation. You move from dreaming to doing. And once you taste that momentum, you never want to stop. Because nothing feels better than watching your dream come to life before your eyes. So today, I want to challenge you to stop being a dream collector and start being a dream builder. Look at your biggest goal, that vision that excites you and scares you at the same time, and give it a date. Write it down. Not someday, not soon, a real date. Because the moment you do, your dream stops floating in your imagination and starts landing on your calendar. And that's when life changes. The clock starts ticking, but it's not counting down to failure. It's counting down to your transformation. Every day that passes now has meaning. Every hour counts. And the person you become while chasing that deadline, focused, determined, disciplined, that's the real reward. So remember, it's not enough to dream. You must decide when that dream becomes real. Because when you set a deadline, you set a destiny. Now that you've set a deadline for your dream, something powerful begins to happen inside you, a fire you can actually feel. It's that mix of excitement and fear that tells you you're finally alive, finally chasing something that matters. Because when you give your dream a deadline, you've just declared war on your excuses. You've removed the luxury of someday, and now it's real. And yes, at first it's scary. Your mind starts whispering doubts. What if I fail? What if I'm not ready? What if people laugh? But let me tell you something. The only thing scarier than trying and failing is never trying at all. Deadlines force you to face that fear head-on, to stop hiding behind what if and start building your what's next. Every achiever you've ever admired has walked through that same storm. They weren't fearless, they were just committed. Commitment doesn't mean you stop being afraid. It means you keep going even when you are. Think about how an airplane takes off. It needs full power to leave the ground, but once it's in the air, the resistance of the wind actually helps it climb higher. That's how your dream works too. The resistance you feel when you start working toward a deadline, the fear, the doubt, the discomfort, that's not the universe pushing you down. It's pushing you up. It's shaping you into someone who can handle the altitude of your success. Without that pressure, you'd never grow strong enough to sustain it. Every deadline you set is like a launch date. You prepare, you plan, you push yourself to be ready, and then you take off. The countdown creates focus. The closer the date gets, the more alert you become. You stop wasting time because time suddenly feels precious. You stop saying yes to distractions and start saying yes to your purpose. That's why deadlines don't limit you. They liberate you. They remind you that life is short, that you only get so many chances, and that waiting for the perfect moment is the same as giving up quietly. You know, I once heard a story about a man who dreamed of running a marathon. For years, he'd say, "I'll do it one day." But that one day never came. Then one evening, while scrolling through social media, he saw an ad for a marathon 6 months away. Without thinking twice, he clicked register. In that moment, his dream had a date, and that changed everything. Suddenly, he had to train. He had to wake up early, eat right, plan his runs. He couldn't keep saying, "I'll start tomorrow," because the clock was ticking. And when race day came, he didn't just cross the finish line. He crossed the line between the person he was and the person he always wanted to be. That's the magic of deadlines. They make your dream chase you back. They force you to rise, to show up, to do the work even on days you don't feel like it. Because now you're accountable not to anyone else, but to yourself. And that accountability is the birthplace of greatness. You can't outsource it, you can't fake it. You either keep your promise or you don't. And every time you keep it, your confidence grows. That's how discipline is born, not from motivation, but from momentum. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to realize that your word means something. You said you'd do it and you did. That feeling of integrity becomes addictive. You start craving the satisfaction of progress more than the comfort of excuses. Every deadline met becomes proof that you are capable, that you are becoming the kind of person who follows through. And here's a truth that might shock you: the goal itself is never the point. The point is the transformation that happens between the day you set your deadline and the day you hit it. Because by the time you reach that goal, you've already become someone new. The dream was just the bait. The real prize is the growth. So don't fear deadlines. Embrace them. They're not walls that trap you. They're bridges that carry you across the gap between who you are and who you could be. Think of your dream as a rocket and your deadline as the countdown. Without it, the rocket never launches. With it, you light the fuse of destiny. And here's something I want you to remember. The countdown will always feel uncomfortable, because growth always is. But that discomfort is proof that you're doing something worthwhile. You're stepping into a version of yourself you haven't met yet. And trust me, that version is worth meeting. So keep your eyes on that date. Let it scare you. Let it drive you. Let it shape you. Because the moment you stop running from your deadlines and start running toward them, your life begins to change in ways you never imagined. You become unstoppable, not because you never fail, but because you never quit before the deadline hits. Now let's talk about something that most people never understand: the emotional power of urgency. Because when you attach a deadline to your dream, you don't just create structure. You create passion. You start to feel this inner fire, this heartbeat that tells you time matters. Suddenly, every sunrise feels like a reminder that your moment is getting closer, and every sunset whispers, "Did you move closer today?" That's what a deadline does. It makes every day sacred. It makes every hour meaningful. It forces you to stop treating time like an infinite resource and start respecting it as the most precious currency you have. You see, dreams die not because people lack talent, but because they act like they'll live forever. They keep postponing the life they want, believing there will always be another chance. But time doesn't pause for anyone. Time keeps moving whether you do or not. And one day, you'll wake up and realize that your dream didn't fade because it was impossible. It faded because you never gave it a finish line. You never told time, "I'm serious." Think of it like baking bread. You can mix the ingredients perfectly, but if you never put it in the oven, it'll never rise. Your dream is the dough. Your deadline is the heat. Without it, nothing takes shape. Without it, life stays raw and unfulfilled. That's why urgency is such a gift. It creates motion. It wakes you up in the morning with a sense of purpose. You stop scrolling, stop wasting, stop waiting, because now you know every minute counts. You're no longer living randomly. You're living intentionally. And when you live intentionally, momentum builds. That momentum is what separates the dreamers from the achievers. Achievers move even when they're unsure. They set the date and figure out the how along the way. Because action creates clarity. You'll never have it all figured out before you start. That's not how growth works. You learn by doing. You evolve by moving. Every step forward reveals the next one. That's why deadlines are your teachers. They don't just push you to act, they teach you who you are under pressure, how you handle challenges, how you adapt. And each challenge you overcome becomes a tool in your arsenal. You grow more strategic, more confident, more capable. You begin to realize that the dream you once thought was far away is now within reach because you dared to commit. But let me tell you something that's equally important. A deadline is not a punishment if you miss it. It's a mirror. It reflects your habits, your patterns, your level of commitment. If you set a date and miss it, don't quit. Don't call yourself a failure. Instead, ask, what slowed me down? What lesson is life teaching me? Because the purpose of a deadline is not to shame you. It's to shape you. You can adjust the date, but never abandon the dream. Progress, not perfection, is the real goal. You're not racing against anyone else. You're racing against the version of you that keeps waiting. And every day you show up, you win. You see, people misunderstand success. They think it's about luck, talent, or opportunities. But the real secret is consistency bound by commitment. And deadlines create that commitment. They remind you daily that this is not a hobby, this is your calling. You start seeing everything differently. Procrastination loses its grip because now you've got a ticking clock whispering, move. Distraction starts to fade because focus becomes survival. Every task becomes a step. Every step a story. Every story a testimony that you're no longer just existing. You're building something that matters. I remember reading about a young woman who dreamed of writing a book. For 5 years, she'd talk about it. One day, she'd say, I'll write it. But she never did. Until one day, her friend gave her a challenge. Finish the first draft by your next birthday. That single sentence changed her life. Suddenly, she had a date that carried weight. She planned her schedule, wrote every morning, missed some weekends with friends, but kept going. On her birthday, she didn't just have a book, she had a new identity. She wasn't someone who dreamed of writing anymore. She was a writer. That's what deadlines do. They don't just help you achieve goals, they help you evolve into someone capable of achieving them. They strip away the lazy habits, the doubt, the fear, and reveal your power. They remind you that success isn't about waiting for the stars to align. It's about deciding to shine with what you've got, where you are, right now. So ask yourself, what dream have you kept waiting in the shadows of someday? What vision have you buried under excuses and fear? Bring it back to life today. Give it a date. Mark your calendar and declare, this is the day I start. This is the day I commit. Because the moment you do, everything changes. The energy around you changes. You stop attracting people who waste your time and start attracting those who respect it. You begin to live with intention. You start walking with purpose. And that, my friend, is how ordinary people do extraordinary things. Not by dreaming forever, but by daring to give their dream a deadline. So now that you understand why deadlines give life to your dreams, let's talk about how to actually use them, how to make them work for you, not against you. Because the truth is, setting a date is only the first step. Keeping that promise is where the real transformation happens. Let me be clear, a deadline without a daily plan is just another wish. If your dream has a date, but your days have no structure, it's like setting a destination on your GPS but never starting the car. You need motion. You need momentum. And the only way to build that is through consistency. Here's the first rule. Break your dream into smaller, measurable milestones. Don't just say, I'll be successful in 6 months. Ask yourself, what does success look like this week? What one action moves me forward today? Because progress isn't made in giant leaps. It's made in small, steady steps. It's the same way a mountain is climbed one step at a time, breath by breath. When you turn your big dream into small deadlines, weekly, daily, even hourly, it stops feeling impossible. It starts feeling manageable. The second rule is accountability. Tell someone you trust about your deadline. Not to impress them, but to pressure yourself. When you say it out loud, it becomes real. It's no longer a private fantasy in your head. It's a public commitment. And human beings are wired to live up to their commitments, especially the ones we've voiced out loud. It's like burning the boats when you reach the shore. There's no turning back now. You've made it known, and that gives you extra fuel when your motivation dips. The third rule is to track your progress. Every night ask yourself, did I move closer to my goal today? Even if it's just 1%, celebrate that. Because 1% daily improvement might feel small, but over time it compounds into something massive. Remember the snowball effect when you start rolling it down a hill? It's tiny, but as it gathers more snow, it grows faster and bigger with every rotation. That's what consistent progress does to your confidence. It builds unstoppable momentum. The fourth rule, guard your time like your life depends on it, because it does. Distraction is the thief of dreams. Every time you choose comfort over progress, you push your deadline further away. You can't move forward if you're constantly entertaining the things that hold you back. So build an environment that supports your dream. Surround yourself with reminders of your deadline, sticky notes, alarms, countdown timers. Let your world echo your commitment. When you wake up, see your goal. When you rest, dream of it. Let it consume you, not in a toxic way, but in a purposeful way. The fifth rule, be flexible but never lazy. Sometimes life throws you off course. Plans fall apart, unexpected obstacles appear, things take longer than you thought. That's okay. Adjust the plan, not the goal. Extend the deadline if needed, but don't erase it. Winners adapt. Quitters abandon. Remember, a delayed goal isn't a dead one. It's just a dream that's still maturing. And when you push through setbacks with patience, you build resilience, that unbreakable inner strength that separates achievers from dreamers. The sixth rule, visualize your victory daily. See yourself already living the dream you're chasing. Feel the emotions of success before it happens. That emotional rehearsal programs your mind to believe it's possible. The more vividly you imagine your goal, the more your brain seeks ways to make it real. It's like tuning your inner radar to find opportunities that align with your vision. Athletes do it, entrepreneurs do it, artists do it because it works. The seventh rule, reward yourself for progress, not perfection. Every time you hit a mini deadline, celebrate. It could be something small, a quiet moment of pride, a walk, a coffee break, a journal entry. Rewards reinforce habits. They remind your brain that hard work leads to positive emotions. Over time, this builds a loop effort, progress, reward that keeps you moving forward, even when motivation fades. And the final rule, and maybe the most important one, is to remember why you started. When things get tough, and they will, your why will keep you alive. Deadlines can sometimes feel heavy, like pressure weighing on your shoulders. But when you remember why you set that goal in the first place, that pressure turns into power. You realize that you're not just chasing a dream, you're honoring a calling. You're doing it for your family, for your future, for that younger version of yourself who once believed anything was possible. You're doing it because deep down, you know you were meant for more. And that's what makes deadlines sacred. They are proof that you're serious about your purpose. Every great dreamer who changed the world understood this truth. They gave their visions deadlines, and those deadlines gave their lives direction. Because when you live with urgency, you live with clarity. And when you live with clarity, you stop wandering, you start winning. So set your date, break it down, stay consistent, track your progress, protect your time, adjust when necessary. Visualize your success, celebrate small wins, and never forget your why. That's how you turn your dream from a someday fantasy into a solid, unstoppable reality. Because when you attach a deadline to your destiny, you stop hoping for change. You start creating it. And now, my friend, as we reach the end of this journey, I want you to take a deep breath and let everything you've just heard sink in. Because this is not just another motivational talk. This is a wake-up call to your potential. You've spent so much of your life dreaming, imagining, wishing, and hoping, but now it's time to draw a line in the sand and say, enough waiting, I start now. The truth is, your dream has been waiting for you too. It's been calling your name every single day, whispering through your thoughts, tugging at your heart, showing up in your imagination like a reminder of what you were meant to do. But dreams are like wild horses, beautiful, powerful, and full of potential, yet useless if they aren't tamed with direction. Your deadline is the reins that let you steer that wild power towards something meaningful. Because without direction, energy is wasted. Without time, intention fades. A dream without a deadline is like a song never sung, a book never written, a masterpiece never painted. And I don't know about you, but I refuse to leave my masterpiece unfinished. I refuse to let fear, laziness, or comfort rob me of the life I could have lived. And I want you to feel that same fire burning inside you, the one that says, I was not born to drift. I was born to decide. Because the moment you decide, the universe shifts. Doors open. People appear. Ideas click. Momentum builds. But all of that starts when you pick a date and declare it out loud. That's when your dream transforms from a wish into a mission. And missions demand action. So from this moment on, I want you to make a promise to yourself that you will no longer let days slip away unnoticed. You will no longer live on autopilot waiting for inspiration. You will create your own inspiration through motion, through commitment, through deadlines. Because success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who prepare. And preparation begins the day you set a timeline. Think about how builders construct skyscrapers. They don't just dream of a tall building, they make blueprints, mark the completion dates for each floor, and work daily with precision and accountability. That's how dreams rise, one scheduled action at a time. You must treat your goals with that same respect. Stop treating your dream like a hobby and start treating it like a mission. If you say you'll start your business by June, mean it. If you say you'll publish your book by December, mean it. If you say you'll transform your health, your mindset, your career, your relationships, then set the date and mean it. Because words without dates are just noise, but dated goals create direction, and direction creates destiny. You may not realize it now, but every time you set a deadline, you're telling your future self, I believe in you enough to make a promise. That's what a deadline really is. Self-belief turned into structure. It's courage in calendar form. And when you honor that calendar, life honors you back. I know it won't be easy. There will be days when you doubt yourself, when progress feels slow, when motivation fades and your old habits try to pull you back. But remember this, your deadline is stronger than your doubt. Your purpose is louder than your procrastination. Your future is brighter than your fear. And every time you push through one more hour, one more day, one more challenge, you're proving that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined. You are rewriting the story of your life with every action you take. Because discipline, consistency, and deadlines, these are the holy trinity of transformation. And when you master them, there's nothing in this world that can stop you. Let me share something deeply personal. There was a time in my life when I was just drifting too. I had dreams, I had passion, but I had no urgency. I kept saying, I'll do it later, until later became never. It wasn't until I set my first real deadline, a date, that scared me that everything changed. Suddenly I was awake again. I had direction, purpose, hunger. I stopped being a spectator in my own life and became the author of my story. That's when I realized the truth. Dreams don't die from failure, they die from delay. And every delay is a small betrayal of your potential. But when you commit to a date, when you circle it on your calendar and say, this is the day I show up, you stop betraying yourself. You start believing in yourself. You start living in alignment with your vision. And that feeling, that power, it's indescribable. You start to feel unstoppable. You start walking differently, thinking differently, talking differently. Because now you have purpose pumping through your veins. You're not wandering anymore, you're walking with intent. And soon, people will start noticing the change in you. They'll ask, what's different? And you'll smile because you'll know the difference isn't luck or talent. The difference is deadlines. So here's my challenge to you right after this video ends. I want you to pick one dream. Just one. The one that's been haunting you, calling you, waiting for you. Write it down. Now give it a date. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect time. The perfect time is a lie. The right time is now. Once you have that date, break it into milestones. Make a plan, then start immediately today, not tomorrow. Even if your first step is tiny, take it. Because that first step will change everything. It will transform your mindset from I hope to I'm happening. And every day that follows will take you closer and closer to the dream you once thought was impossible. So take the leap, set the date, do the work. Keep your promise, and when the day comes that your deadline arrives, when you finally hold that finished project, that launched business, that transformed version of yourself, I want you to look in the mirror and smile. Because you'll know that it wasn't luck, it wasn't magic, it wasn't chance. It was you. It was the power of a dream anchored by a deadline. It was your discipline, your belief, your resilience that made it real. And you'll realize something beautiful, that every future goal you set now is already possible because you've proven it once. You've tasted the victory of commitment, and that victory will carry you through the rest of your life. So remember this final truth. Dreams require deadlines because life requires urgency. The clock is ticking, not to scare you, but to remind you that time is precious. Every moment you waste is a moment you'll never get back. But every moment you use wisely, every action you take toward your deadline, brings you one step closer to the life you were born to live. So make it count. Don't let another day slip by without moving forward. Set your dream, mark your date, and make your destiny. Because your dream deserves a deadline and your life deserves to see it come true. The countdown starts now.